So Kush started in 1994, and I happened to be in New York City attending the 25th anniversary of the Stonewall celebrations, and there was a Pride March. And in that Pride March, a group in New York had started recently called Salga, and I met Atul Garg, and Atul was from Chicago, born and raised in Chicago of Indian parents, and he lived in Washington, D.C., and neither he nor I had ever met. And so we said, you know what, let's go back to DC and start a group for South Asian gay and lesbian folks. So we have an opportunity to get together and be part of a group. So we met that day on the streets of New York. We exchanged phone numbers, and when we came back to DC, we came up with a plan.
So my recollection of my conversation with Yasser is 20 years old, so I'm going to have to draw on my memory a bit for this. But I think at some point during the celebrations up in New York, I met Yasser, and we both realized that we both lived in DC. And I hadn't met anybody at that point who was South Asian LGBT who lived in DC. And what I remember is just basically saying, hey, this is so amazing being here, and it would be great to have this type of environment, this type of organization in DC. So it's really just as simple as like meeting another person who was South Asian LGBT, returning to DC and saying, hey, let's kind of get things started. KhushDC basically started with a simple ad in the Washington Blade saying, hey, we're forming a South Asian LGBT group. And we got a few people, I think, off the ad. I think Yasser, knew a few people. And that's really our first meeting that summer was really a result of that conversation.
Kush created a safe space. It was a lot of potlucks. It was a lot of getting together. A lot of people were very secretive about it. They didn't want their names known. They didn't want their pictures taken, that sort of thing. But we protected that privacy. And over time, we used to have regular meetings. People would come to those. We had discussion groups, and for many years. The discussion groups almost always, no matter what topic you started with and tried, they always came back to how do I come up to my family and how do I tell my parents. And that, for many years, was really the recurring theme for Kush.
I think KhushDC is very crucial to the greater community because it is so unique in what it offers. Prior to joining KhushDC, I was sort of involved in one of the biggest LGBT organizations in America. I'm not going to name it, but I think many of us know the community. And I kind of felt like the frog in the ocean, but joining Kush has been such a warm and loving experience. All the people and the members are just so welcoming, and they're just like brothers and sisters. And as I said before, the 1 minute we're just totally fine, and the next second, we just know how to give each other our spaces. Basically, it's just fantastic, and we're just out there, and the whole Eastern culture of collectivism is just so positive in my opinion, which is definitely something that KhushDC has not lost, and I think that's one thing I love about it.
It's amazing to be able to connect with other folks in the community and meet individuals and learn about their stories. And our diaspora is so large. We've got people from the Caribbean, people from Africa, people from South Asia, people who've grown up here, people who have immigrated here, people who are taxi cab drivers or store owners, all in our community. And people who are religious or not religious, different religions, and it's the diversity is just amazing. And KhushDC is one of the threads or part of the fabric of our community.
My favorite Kush moment was last Pride when my parents came down from New York to visit me, and coincidentally it happened to be the same weekend as Pride. And KhushDC had our own segment of the parade. We had a truck, we dressed it up Desi style, and you know, at first I was trying to keep it a secret about what I was doing that weekend, and I just said I was really busy and I had extracurricular things to do. And, you know, my mom knew something was up, right, like mothers do. And she pried and asked me, you know, what is really going on? What are you doing that you don't want us to know about? And I said, well, Mom, this weekend happens to be Pride weekend, and I'm on the board of this organization. We're marching in the parade together. You know, maybe it might make sense for you all to come another weekend. And she turned and she said to me, what, straight people can't march with pride people? And first of all, like, what are pride people? But at the same time, she was reaching out and saying, you know what, you know, to me that meant that she was saying, I love you, and I'm going to do this uncomfortable thing, and I'm asking you, can I march with you in the parade? And she was, you know, extending that sort of gift to me, and you know, awkwardly said, okay. And I didn't think she was going to show up, but actually she did, with my dad and with our puppy, and they all marched with me.
I moved to DC to work as a linguist researching South Asian languages, including my native language, Bangla, Bengali. And so as I moved here, my South Asian identity, my Bengali identity got more important to me. And in KhushDC, I have met Bangladeshi and West Bengali LGBT people. It's been really amazing. So I think having a community, having people who are coming together and sharing their life experiences, people who are from the subcontinent or from the diaspora, they often have similar life issues that I might have. So just coming out, dealing with parents, expectations of marriage, those kinds of things are unique to a Desi experience. And I think as a gay person, talking to other Desi queer people, LGBT people, has been really life-changing for me.
So one thing we've really tried to do, and I hope that we can do a lot more of, is actually reaching out to the more mainstream, if you will, South Asian community, South Asian immigrant community. And again, because I am from DC and I live here, a lot of the aunties and uncles that I might see in the community organizations and the temples are my community and are my family here. So for me in particular, as a second generation immigrant, it is important for me that there is more safe space being built right here itself. We've gone out to some student groups, we've talked at universities in the area, we've gone and tried to talk to organizations that might work with also non-South Asian LGBT groups in order to just increase knowledge, increase awareness, and hopefully, you never know, there could be somebody sitting in the audience that is South Asian and queer and needs a community and needs a space. And so just by doing more and more of that outreach, we're able to get them to come in and to feel like they actually have a home and have a place here. What I would like to see for the future of KhushDC is for us to think about putting the person in our community who is most vulnerable, who is most marginalized, whoever that is, and really organizing all of KhushDC around the needs of that person and those people, and not around the needs of somebody like me, or maybe many people in the KhushDC community right now. I really want KhushDC to be there for the people who need it most, and I hope that we'll continue to do that as we move forward.
I suppose as the informal Khush elder here, I have to say that I hope that Khush will continue to grow, and its future really does depend upon a lot of young people in the community now. And of course, to me, everybody is young or younger, but I think whether it is people more and more coming out in their teens, all the way to people who are in their 30s and 40s, they are the people who are going to lead this community to a new vision for who we are, because we live and work not only in the US, but really in a more globalized world than when I first arrived here 35 years ago. And I think understanding our Khush identities in the context of not only people of color identities in this country, but also in the context of our identities in the globalized world is what I would most wish for us to have understand. I think Kush is also made up of a lot of us who are diasporic, and therefore we really need to be making spaces to understand the global in the context of what it means for us to do our work in the US.